First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight to this town hall meeting. It's very encouraging to see a room full of people. Doug? It's real nice to see a room full of people that are here. I don't know what happened, but we are not serving free beer tonight. So if you came for the free beer, you're in the wrong place. But anyway, I want to thank everybody. We're going to do a town hall meeting. We're going to take questions. If you have a card, you can fill it out. If not, we ask you to come up to the microphones. Give us your name and your address. Just a couple of quick statements. There's a lot going on in this place, and when we look at the list of all the things, the projects that have been completed the first half of the year, there's still a lot that we're doing, a lot that's going on. I'm going to just comment briefly about the Nutcracker. Briefly is because there's really very little we can say about it at this point, other than we have been presented with an option to buy the Nutcracker. We don't have much more information than what's already been shared. Until the attorneys get together and decide what it is that's being sold and what it is that we might buy and what the Nutcracker members decide to do, we really can't communicate any more than that. So in the next week or so, we may be knowing more, but we may not be. So we will get that information out to you as quickly as we can. Just a lot more questions at this point than we have answers to. So with that being said, the first question I have is from Carter Gresham.
My name is Carter Gresham. I live at 10307 Ravenswood. I've been a pecan member for about 10 years. This last 4th of July came a tipping point for me. I've listened to a lot of things at the Board of Directors meeting about the condition of our facilities, about the maintenance that's going on, and I went down to the marina at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4th of July weekend, on the 4th of July, the busiest single boating day all year long. There was one person working down there. There were 6 boats tied up trying to get gasoline, 3 people in the grocery store trying to buy supplies. That, in my opinion, is really poor management. Peter Drucker, who started the movement in modern management, said that management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. So if you're going to gain the trust, the confidence, and the support of our entire membership, I'm going to suggest that we need a change in management. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I don't have any comment. The marina manager is John Thomas. Are you here? You want to talk about our personnel at the marina? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
But I know last year we stayed open late. We had 2 scheduled, so I'll have to find out what the manager or the supervisor was thinking. So I don't know what else to tell you.
I still didn't hear that. Would you use your microphone, please?
I said, like the last 4th of July, we were scheduled to stay open a little bit later, and there was at least 2 people scheduled the entire day inside the store, and then there's at least 2 scheduled in the grill. So if a second person wasn't there at that time, I'll find out from the supervisor where they were. So.
Okay. So we had more people than one scheduled, Carter. We'll find out where that was. That's all I can tell you. Thank you.
That's just one instance.
Okay.
Does anyone else have a comment or question?
On that note,
Can you use a microphone, please?
My name's Kevin Keekler. live at 8516 Ravenswood, been here 2 years. On that note, you mentioned you were very proud to bring guests to the club, et cetera. There was I think, Guys and Dolls tournament here last month or 6 weeks ago. I understood most of those people were guests. There were 80-some-odd people here from outside, which we think would be a great opportunity to promote pecan, which I'm very proud to be here. But there was one bartender in the hull. There was one bartender in the risers room. There was no management anywhere to be found at the time. I got up, left the hull to go find management because people were screaming downstairs at Juicer that weren't members. As I walked up, people were asking me where to go eat, where the food is. My question is on weekends, and on the 4th I saw a bunch of staff, but on weekends is management, and I'm talking about management, not ever step up and participate when we're going to have a huge crowd, or do we, I know we're understaffed, so do we just go with that and that's it? That's our answers? That's all we can do? Or is the leadership going to lead by example and step up and show up when we don't have enough people? It was embarrassing. It was very embarrassing. So that's all I say.
Thank you.
Anybody else have comments? A lot of people sitting here, so if you got something, come on up.
My name is David Blackman. I live at 9313 Monticello. Lived in Pecan since 2002. I find one of the biggest problems that I have with the board and the management, and I'll speak for myself and not the rest of the members, but one of the biggest problems I have is the lack of communication and the lack of, well, let's just leave it at that, lack of education. For instance, Percy earlier was talking about the addition to the roads. I think that if I think if the board is more open with numbers and more forthcoming, then you get a lot more member support. For instance, it was stated that at a modest cost, we're adding a little bit extra widening to the road. What most of us don't know, and I didn't know until a few days ago, was that these roads were built, when they're built, they were built by the developer at the state minimum, 4 inches of base. Those roads aren't going to last. It's an increased cost for members to pay to have those roads repaired and maintained unless you have the 12-inch base with the 4 inches of asphalt on top. You get longevity out of the road. In the long run, it's a cost saving for us. The widening of that road is very minimum from my understanding of the numbers that I got, very minimal in comparison to the project of having to replace the roads because they were only built at the very state minimums. If you drive down a lot of our roads now, which we had coated or filled just not too long ago at great expense, these roads are already failing. We're going to have to go back in and fill those again. I think if you present it in a different way, in an honest and open way, you get more buy-in from the members and of repairing and taking care of our existing amenities. That's the other big thing for me from you guys. We have to take care of our existing amenities before we go proposing of building a new fitness center or other new things that you can add to your resume. We need to take care of what we have and not add or threaten members, well, we're going to have an increased dues, we're going to have an increased dues. Oh, by the way, we're going to buy a new golf course or we're going to build a new fitness center, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. We're just looking for some openness and honesty. Thank you.
So I'd like to respond to that, sir.
Please do.
Your comment suggests that we respond in a dishonest way.
No, not at all.
I am a member just like you. Every one of the 9 members of the board are volunteer members. I would say that this is as honorable a group of individuals that I've ever worked with. So we do our best to present the information that we have to each of you through the vehicles of communication that we have. When we offer an amenity to you, there have been volunteer committees from the folks like you in the audience who have spent untold hours trying to develop a plan that they feel will meet your needs, and then we try to fund it. This community is reluctant to pay for the things that we need to do, and so we do our best to try and make a case for funding. That's the biggest challenge, as I wrote in my column last month, to try and generate the funds to keep up our infrastructure. I promise you that I know there's a saying about where the sausage is made. Where the sausage is made on this board and from the board down through management, we do as good as we can with the information that we have to try and keep up with our infrastructure. The professional organization of homeowners associations determines that there is a continual increase of 3 to 5% in cost to operate communities like ours, 3 to 5% a year. We do not have a cost of living index increase that allows us to keep up. So what's happening is that we are falling behind at a rate of 3 to 5%. I can tell you that we scramble each month and each year, and then in the summer budgeting process to try and provide you with the information that you need to allow us to keep up the infrastructure. It's a challenge, and so we are doing the best I can. So I really feel that it's disingenuous for people to suggest that anyone on this board is dishonest, and I would encourage the board, any of the members of the board, to respond as well.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. Your biggest complaint, I think, was about communication, and I agree. It's hard for us to get the word out. We've got a new website coming online, and I think it'll make a big improvement on our ability to put information on that website so that people will be better informed. Specifically in this case, last month when we approved the ACE we went through the road base and how thick it was, and while we were doing the 10 inch, we're actually doing 10 inches instead of 12. And why we did that, that would give us a 20-year life. Daniel actually counted all the trucks that came in and out of the gate just to determine what load capacity was that we needed to design the road to meet. And so I think we did fairly good work with the design of this road and approving the proposal, but I still agree, and I understand your point that we need to communicate better, and it's a challenge all the time to communicate better with the membership. So I appreciate your comment.
And I'd also like to comment on communications. When I got on the board, one of the things that I took on was to try to do some things to improve communications. I found out what a hurdle it is. And I just asked a question. When was the last time each of you checked your profile online to see if your phone number and email address is correct? Because a lot of them aren't. We can't email people because some people have opted out of getting email from us. We cannot call some people because people have opted out of getting phone calls from us. The only way that we can reach all the members of this community is by snail mail. So if we have something urgent, we can do an email blast, A lot of members won't get it. We can't do a phone call because a lot of members have phones that they either don't answer. It's an old home number, an old hard line that rings and rings and rings, and nobody answers it, but we still have them in our homes. We don't have cell phone numbers. It's a major obstacle for us to continue to try and communicate. We put more on our website. The new website that's coming in a few months, few weeks, is going to have a lot more available to us. It will be as good as members want to make it by helping us to get information out there so that if we have information, we can get it to you. You're going to be able to do a lot more. You'll be able to use it on your cell phone. You'll be able to go to the website. You'll be able to find reports about what we're spending for replacing a Kia engine or what it's going to cost us to fix a road or what the Saturday special is going to be in the Brazos room. But it is a difficult process. We've got 7,000 people that have different ideas of how we should communicate with them. And it's not an easy fix. I welcome anybody to join the communications committee. Brian's back there. We'll take any ideas you've got. But we're doing what we can with the columns. There's a lot of information in the columns. We've gone to this format of doing town hall meetings quarterly. The object is for us to hear directly from you what it is that you're concerned about. When we know what you're concerned about, then we can start to deal with it. But this is a complex operation. And one of the issues that we have all the time is it costs a lot more to run this place than a lot of people have any idea about. We've presented the numbers in a totally new way this year to take into account how to make the financials more easily understood. And I thank Bob Cote and Doug Green and others to help us to provide the financials in a better format. So with that, we're listening. We're trying to listen. We're looking for your ideas. If you've got thoughts, going on other websites and complaining and not telling us directly doesn't help anything. And if you got things, let us know. Call us. All of our numbers are in the columns. Each of the board reps up here on different committees. You've got concerns about something going on in a part of our neighborhood, pick up the phone and call us. I don't think anybody here has turned down a call from a neighbor that says, hey, I'd like to know why you didn't have anybody at the marina. Let us know. I mean, we're volunteers. We spend a lot of hours representing you every month, and we're doing the best we can. The better feedback we get, the better information we get from members, the better we're going to be able to do our job. So I'm going to get off my soapbox and turn it back over to you. Thank you.
In response, Mr. Kamen, I never suggested that you were dishonest. I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that I appreciate the hours that each one of you spend. And Mr. Green, thank you very much. I appreciate the positive feedback that you gave. There is a problem, and we all do need to work at better communication. I would also suggest my opinion that I think the board is divided, and I think some on the board have personal agendas that they're pushing. I don't think that everyone agrees, and everybody doesn't need to agree, because if we were all yes men, the world would be the same. But in no way was I suggesting that you were dishonest.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess I'll try to answer that question a little bit, because it bothers me in the fact that I am one of the new members of the board, and I don't see any of us here having an agenda. We have different ideas and different approaches to solving a problem or a solution or whatever.
Wasn't necessarily speaking of the board members.
Okay.
What does that mean?
It means that it's my opinion, it is my opinion that a resume is trying to be bolstered. And I'll leave it at that.
What did he say?
Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
don't know whose resume it's trying to get hold of.
Go ahead, Jim.
May I speak?
Yes, please.
My name's Jim Miller. I live at 9612 Divot, the number 6 fairway of Nutcracker, where I get a lot of balls. I've lost a couple of windows and skylights, but that's part of the fun. I've been here the 15th of next month will be 13 years. During that period of time, the biggest complaint that always comes out in meetings like this and anywhere else is lack of communication. We don't communicate with people. I was on the ACC for several years. I was on the board for 3 years. I was president for 1 year. And I'm back on the ACC now. The thing that we need from the membership as a governing body is input from them on what they want. If you have an idea that you think is good enough to be considered, find out what committee that needs to go through. Mary has in the columns the lists of all the committees. Take your idea to the committee. Let the committee discuss it with you. If they feel it's a good idea, you'll get all the support you need. It will go up the chain to the board and be considered. When you sit at home or in the bar and criticize people, that goes nowhere. That never gets to the board. Start communicating with the board with a little bit of initiative on your part. Go to the committees and let your ideas be known. Thank you.
Jim, you said let your ideas be known about what you want. I would also add what you'd be willing to pay for. And I mean, that really is...
I thought we got everything.
We have to do that. There are a lot of things we want. What are we going to pay for?
I want to change the subject a little bit. My name is Bruce Lockwood. I live at 5806 Nutcracker Drive, and I've had the pleasure of being an ambassador for the Chamber of Commerce over the last few years, and things are changing. We like to think of Pecan Plantation as a really well-kept secret. Well, it's not. Every time we add a major corporation such as Kroger and folks like that, even Bond Arms, they spread the word nationally that this is the place to come. We're that close to seeing, I wouldn't say explosive growth, but significant growth. We have everything in place from Zach's Railroad to an expanded airport, hopefully. The only thing that's missing right now is Route 377. That's not in good shape right now, but we're going to fix it. But what I'm saying is we're going to see that growth out here. We're going to see, we are the 600-pound gorilla in Hood County, and the rest of Hood County knows it. And so we're going to see more changes coming much faster than we have in the past. Our demographics are changing here, and I'm excited. I really am. Some of the things that are coming down our way are great, but we got to be ready. And I trust that these guys are keeping their finger on the pulse, and I trust that you are too. Unfortunately, we don't get all the information we need from our local newspaper, and we certainly don't get it from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. We get it from the folks who work here and manage here and they're more than willing to share it. So keep your eyes open, be part of the change, embrace the change, and we're going to get better. We're going to get bigger, but we're going to get better. Thanks.
In support of what Bruce just said, today at the ACC meeting, we approved 9 new houses.
I'm short. I just want to say that as a woman's...
Can you give us your name and address, please?
Oh, sorry. My name's Deanna Tebow. I live at the airport on Taxiway. I just think that a lot of people complain, and not a lot of people volunteer. And when you're angry that not a lot of people can serve you at dinner on a certain night, if the chicken dinners are bringing in, 300 people for dinner and all of a sudden there's 600, they're not prepared for that. Bear with them. Say hi. Wait for your drink. Drink water. Do whatever you need to get by. Tonight at dinner, there was a little bit of a change. We bared with it. We had a great dinner. More people need to support this club. I don't think a lot of people eat here. You run this club, it costs money. It needs to be in the black, just like other things. The golf course needs to be in the black. Other things need to be in the black. We can't have all these things if they're all in the red. So support them. Take care of these people so they'll be here.
Thank you. While the next person's coming in, I would point out that we're a $7.5 million enterprise, and our objective is to provide services to the community, not to show a profit. So there's a balance that we have to achieve by charging the right amount of money for our food that allows us to keep the quality up, but not overcharging so that we can keep people coming in. I still contend this is the best restaurant in Hood County. I think our prices are appropriate. If our objective is to make a profit, that changes the formula for us. That's not why we're here. I would point out, though, that the food and beverage operation over the past several months has been slightly in the black, several $1,000s each month. So that tells me that food and beverage is doing a good job. If we start making $50,000 a month, then we'll start lowering the prices. How would that be?
Hello, my name is Hal Spotswell. I live on Colonial on the 18th fairway of Nutcracker, and the issue of communication or lack thereof is a good point, and certainly today's meeting is part of maybe the solution, having these every quarter where people can voice their concerns. Carter, you made a good point about the July 4th. The marina wasn't staffed properly. I don't think, however, because if someone didn't show up, that we should fire all the management. And I know you may have other reasons you want to fire the management, but when you talk to people that have lived here for 20 years, I've been here for 12. I've got a father-in-law that's been here for 20, and know some people that have been here longer than that. 15, 20 years ago, we were in the red. At the end of the month, we had no money. We were lucky to get the dues to pay the bills. And you just saw the report that we have $4 million in cash. Is that management doing that bad a job? Now, if you want to try to help, meet with some of the committees, help them figure out how to keep personnel, get people to come from Granbury out here to help us in the restaurant. I mean, try running a restaurant, for crying out loud. Before John Thomas got here, we were losing $120,000 a year at the restaurant. This year, we may lose $15,000. So do we fire John Thomas? That would be ludicrous. Before Mike Bartholomew got here, we were losing our ass. And we got $4 million. I'm getting a little fired up. Hey, there's nothing wrong with pointing out opportunities or problems. Work with the people. This crap about wanting to fire everybody, Charlie Moses, that's ridiculous. We've had like 10 audits in a row, outside audits, every one of them are clean. There's no crooks up here. Okay, I've had enough. I'm going to sit down.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make a comment? Let you ask the question.
My name is Jay Foster. I live at 9712 Bell Chase Road. Just on this, what Kevin mentioned in the bar, and especially on the weekends, a suggestion I might make, if we can't afford to hire 2 bartenders, maybe a bar back. Because the poor bartenders have to serve food, drinks, they got waitresses from the restaurant stacked up, and just a bar back to help get ice, do glasses, that kind of thing. And that's just a suggestion. But what I really want to talk about, I understand the road expansion is pretty much a done deal with the exception of the extra lane. And I hear that's only 10%, but by my math, that's almost $70,000. But what I'm concerned about, now we're going to have 3 lanes that are going to come through there and feed into 1 lane. Looks like to me that's potential traffic jam or accidents or road rage. I don't think we have an option because the bridge, unless we expand the bridge.
No, there's only 2 lanes. We're not adding a lane. We're just lengthening the member lane. It's making it longer so that when the contractors back up at the gate, and what happens now is you have long trucks all of a sudden going past where the member lane branches off. So we're just extending that member lane up, as you heard, 750 feet, so that now, even when there's a backup at the gate for contractors and guests, members can still get through and go through the gate. So there's still only going to be 2 entrances.
Well, then now I understand. I never saw artist rendering, so I was understanding we're building a second members lane.
No. I heard people talking about widening we're not doing that. We're lengthening the member lane. That, in fact, does widen it back up toward the developer's building, but it's not adding a lane, it's just lengthening it.
And I'd just like to also add to that, as we were developing this road project, the infrastructure committee looked at it and we were ready to roll with that. We're also looking at a new gate entry system. Right now it takes us about 55 seconds per car to get through the guest lane. Is that correct, Daniel? So if you have a guest comes through the guest lane, it takes about 55 seconds. I'm amazed that we even know that, but it takes about 55 seconds. We think that with this new gate entry system that we're hoping to install in the next couple of weeks, you'll be able to go on your phone and call your guests in. You'll be able to send them codes that they can just swipe it against the machine and get into the premises. You can get a notification, a text message, or an email that your guest has arrived. You'll be able to do it all from your cell phone. We think that'll take it from about 55 seconds per guest to get in to about 15 seconds. If we're able to do that, and we still don't have finals on the gate entry system, but we may not need to extend that second member lane as long. So those are, considerations, as we roll out technology, as we do things differently. It may cost us more in some areas, but may save us in others. So we're going to continue to look at that. Again, one more project that we're working on that I think you all like when you get it. Any golfers in here? How many of you use Forties with your phone? Oh, not very many. Okay. So the gate entry system will give you some advantages over what we have now. Your guests won't have to sit there and wait to get in. They can just, we'll be able to give them a pass and get right through the system, and you'll know when they've arrived. Anybody else like to make a comment?
One other add-on, just the fact that as we grow, there'll be more people coming in and out of the gates. So anything that we can do now to improve for the future is a good idea.
My name's Ray Lewis. I live at 9603 Taxiway Drive. Been here about 12 years. I just wanted a couple of things. One, I want to commend the board for this meeting tonight and this quarterly nighttime staff or board meeting and nighttime town hall meeting. I have at least I can count of 4 or 5 issues that an aha light came off on somebody's head when they said, oh, now I understand. When they didn't before, and they were complaining, and they'd get on next door and complain and tell people how bad it was, when in reality, they learned something tonight, and it really, really helped. And I think more of this is very constructive. When I was on the board, I asked Michael to do some mining of the data among the associations of associations. And we looked at things like, what are the dues for other clubs that have similar amenities? Or what are the amenities for other clubs that have similar dues? And either way you looked at it, we came out the best in the country. Not in the county, not in the state, in the country. At the very top of the list. So something is being done correctly. Doesn't mean it's perfect. It doesn't mean we can't improve it. And this is a lot of things have come out today that will help to improve it. And the communication, I think, will help to improve it. But just remember how great a place we've got and work to try to make it better rather than to complain about where we are today, because I, for one, love it.
Thank you.
Zach Schmidt, 8609 Westover. We've had a lot of discussion tonight about communication.
Hey, Zach, can you speak right into the mic, please?
We've had a lot of discussion about communication and the need for good communication. We've had a lot of talk about the numbers for the road project. The new asphalt in the project is 15.64% of the overall project, but we keep calling it 10% of the project. That's what we mean by good communication. Solid numbers and accurate data. It's not a small section, and when you go through here and you look at the fire hydrants being moved and the irrigation being moved and the signs being moved, that increases the percentage of the overall project. All of those get accrued to the road being lengthened versus just upgrading what we have. Those numbers actually turn into about $120,000 if you run all the numbers out all the way for all of the additional things that have to be done to make the new road. In the engineer's recommendations here, there's also a very wordy piece about drainage. And I would really like to assess the drainage and the responsibility of the drainage. Right now, it rests with the membership. If you have members out there cutting drains alongside your road and trying to maintain a ditch, your assets are going to fall apart. I would like to put that on the docket at some point to have a discussion about drainage. All right? And then as far as the communication from the clubhouse, the information that we as members receive from the clubhouse, I use the website a lot. We have things on there that are totally incorrect, like our fraud abatement policy. It's a copy and paste, and section 2 and 3 of the same policy say the exact same thing. That fraud abatement policy?
Fraud abatement.
Section 2 and 3 are the same thing. And I rely on those. That's information that I get directly from you guys. I'd like to see it improved.
Address the policy issue. Vince Sprinkle and myself are going to be reviewing all the policies because we do need to make some changes to our policies. And so the board has asked us to take that on as a project. And so over the next few months, we'll be doing that.
So section 2 and 3 are a copy and paste. They're the exact same thing. Section 3 is totally missing.
But there's other things that need to be looked at as well in the policy. So yes.
And let me address the drainage issue. We spent $110,000 to conduct a LIDAR survey of Pecan. We've just found that data is now available. Dick, do you want to make a comment about what we have toward improving our drainage analysis?
I'm the board representative to the Infrastructure Committee, and for several years, infrastructure has been focused on drainage. And the most recent project they did started down at the end of Bell Chase and worked its way all the way up to Wedgefield and a little bit beyond. This year, it's a little different. They're working on roads. And so we're working on that front entrance road, and we're tearing up Westover in order to drain water that's been going down towards Bell Chase. They're going to drain it away to the north to the Brazos River instead. Those are two very expensive projects. But the Infrastructure Committee works on this stuff all the time, and I wanted to be on the committee because drainage is the single largest issue at Pecan, I think. That's my opinion. We can argue that from here to forevermore. But this LiDAR data is really slick. It is really neat. It takes some more work. What we have now is the raw data. Now we've got to either do it ourselves or pay somebody to do it. We've got to go out on the ground and measure the size of every culvert. Every single culvert under a driveway, under a road. They all have to be measured. We have to make an estimate of what percentage of them are currently blocked. And then with all that data, and you look at things like the square footage of rooftops and driveways, and you know water that is not going to go into the ground, it's going to run off. And we can do a visualization of the runoff at any location in Pecan. It's going to be expensive to do that analysis. It's going to be expensive. There's no other way of talking about it. But it is on the radar. It's being worked. There are 4 areas of Pecan that we have identified that have significant drainage issues. And they're going to attack those 4 first. But obviously, this year is taken up by the front entrance and the Westover project. And then next year, that'll be back on the docket.
Right. Now, who's responsible for maintaining the ditches on people's private property?
That's a very interesting comment. I've had long talks with Daniel about this, and there's actually a requirement that if you put in a sprinkler system, that you don't run the lines out through your ditch to the edge of the street and spray back towards your property. You're supposed to stop the lines short of the ditch. And then it becomes a game of trying to get your sprinklers to sprinkle out to the edge of the street without sprinkling the street. But what happens is every now and then, Daniel and his crew have gone out and cleaned out ditches that are blocked, that are causing us problems, and they'll tear up a sprinkler system that's not supposed to be there. So we have a lot of issues to work with. But basically, to answer your question, each homeowner is supposed to maintain their ditch.
Okay.
So I would point out that while you are responsible for maintaining your easement, we do our best to not impose upon that as part of your property. We just laid a line, an optics fiber line, that went through some easements that some property owners had laid with stone instead of had grass in it. We bypassed that to respect that owner's property, even though he shouldn't have done that. And so we have those problems all the time, and whenever we address them, if we can avoid it, avoid destroying an easement structure that shouldn't be there, we do it. Sometimes we can't, and sometimes we have to get into an easement and destroy a sprinkler system that shouldn't be there. But it is not, to answer your question, really, it's the homeowner that's responsible for keeping that easement ditch clear.
What happens when that property owner unknowingly cuts the shoulder off of the road?
When the property owner what?
Cuts the shoulder off of the road. You're going to lose large assets.
Daniel, can you help us here?
They would be responsible for damaging the road.
The homeowner's responsible for damaging any damage they do to the road. Is what I heard. Is that correct?
So now they're responsible for the ditches and the road.
Be
No, I don't understand the question. You said, what happens when a homeowner damages the road?
We want homeowners that don't understand roads to go out and maintain ditches alongside roads. What happens when they dig a ditch alongside the road that damages the road?
Well, you know, this is a...
To some particular item, maybe, Daniel, can you help us again?
We've had many instances where homeowners have elected to clean out their own ditch or repair their own ditch, restore their own ditch, concrete it, flagstone it, you name it. There's been very few instances where the homeowner damaged the road to the extent where we had to step in and repair it. There have, however, been a few. And in those circumstances, we did bill that homeowner for that damage. Some of the damage of the few that I can recall, we had a homeowner decide to do concrete in his own personal easement along with ours, and he elected to have the concrete trucks back off the side of the road into his ditch. He broke off the edge of the road. He was billed a nominal fee for about $200, which would have been the cost of the material and the labor put into it. But very rarely does that circumstance ever happen. If a homeowner were to elect to get a metal tracked excavator out on the road, of course they would be responsible, but I've yet to see that happen either. And one other thing I would like to address as well, Zach, and I provided you with all the road information because I knew you'd be good at picking it apart and you know your numbers well. But I would be more than happy to sit down with you and show you how it's 10% of the project, not 15.6% or whatever it was that you mentioned there. And just like I mentioned in the email when I sent you all the information, if you had any questions or concerns, just feel free to contact me and we could go over any of it in full detail.
Do you have any other questions?
No, that's all I got.
All right, thanks, Zach. Any other questions?
Anybody else have anything?
I would say we have circumstances where we have heavy trucks on our roads that are really vulnerable. We have trash trucks that sometimes back into a owner's property on a cul-de-sac and do damage to the roads. I know on occasion when that's happened, Daniel has gone out and tried to repair them. So, you know, we do the best we can in maintaining the roads, but there are some things that we don't have control over. Another thing you might not know is that the developer, there are no restrictions on the developer about the size of the truck, the weight of the truck that the developer can bring into our community and use our roads that we're responsible for maintaining. So that I don't know. I can't give you an estimate of how much damage those heavy trucks might do to our roads, but those are circumstances that are beyond our control. Nevertheless, we do the best we can, and I think Roads and Grounds is doing a good job maintaining our roads and streets. If you doubt that, I suggest you take a ride down to De Cordova and take a look at their roads. Their roads are deteriorating at a rapid rate, and the appearance of those roads much worse than ours. So I think we're doing a good job of maintaining our roads. I'm sorry I sound like I'm defending us, but I am. I really am. I think that the volunteer, let me start over again. Governance here at Pecan is a bottom-up process. We work with committees that identify issues and develop them and then bring them to the board. The board approves them and then directs management to implement them. So it's a bottom-up process. Many of you serve on committees. I recognize many of you in this room that do. So that's the way it works. And so we're all members doing this job, and when we get our information, that's when we invite management to implement those policies that we develop. So yes, I defend the process. I know that many of the people that work here as volunteers, We're doing the best job we can.
If there are no other questions, anybody else going once, going twice? I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Oh, we got one more.
I'm Bobby Bates, 8903 Afton Court. I'm talking into it.
Yeah, you gotta get close.
Okay, is this close enough? I'm primarily interested in the golf course, and it's my opinion that we don't have enough golf course. I was surprised to see the conversation about Nutcracker. I thought we just failed to pass something not too long ago that said we can't get the money to buy a Nutcracker.
Okay, I didn't get the first part of your question. You said we need more golf courses?
Absolutely. We can't get tee times now all the time.
Well, at this point,
Nutcracker, that's the reason I'm living here, not to join Nutcracker. Nutcracker's not part of Pecan Plantation.
That's true. To try and answer your question as best we can, there was an opportunity under the Lenmo agreement to build a third golf course that would have required a 2/3 vote of all the members here. We didn't think the price for building it was right. We didn't think that we could get a 2/3 majority vote of all the members out here that would vote for a third golf course. The Nutcracker is owned by the Anthonys, not owned by anybody else. He's offered it to the Nutcracker members to purchase, and if Nutcracker members choose not to purchase it, it will then go to the PPOA to determine whether or not they want to buy it or not. That does not answer the question for the third golf course. Do we have a tee time problem? Yes, we do. Part of the answer to that is we've opened up rounds of golf at Squaw Creek or Squaw Valley. So the members here, if they want, can go play over there for $25. It's a special deal that we've set up for them. Long range, would it be nice to have a third golf course? Yeah, it would. Are the members here willing to pay the $1.7 million plus $700,000 a year to maintain it? And would 2/3 of the members here vote for that? At this point, unless you know something I don't,
I just heard we had $4 million.
Well, we got $4 million in our...
was that not correct?
We have $1 million in our general operating, $2 million in our capital reserve account, and $1 million roads and drainage. But those funds are designated to be spent on those areas.
Okay, so we don't have $4 million then.
We don't have a surplus of $4 million.
The way it was explained, I mean, the statement came out, we got $4 million.
Well, we have $4 million in cash reserves.
It's committed to something else, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right then. So we don't have $4 million just laying around.
No, I wish we did. We'll accept donations. But, you know,
listen, I can't speak for the other golfers. I'd be glad to increase my donation if it would improve the golf situation.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't even like Nutcracker, for God's sakes.
I'd like to make a comment.
I have played Nutcracker. I don't care for it.
Okay.
I will play it again if we buy it.
Well, let me and again, a comment on, you know, what happens with a Nutcracker. There is a team working on the PPOA that if Nutcracker passes on their opportunity to buy the Nutcracker golf course and it comes to the PPOA, then at that point we've got a group that will look at what that would look like. And until there are more questions at this point than answers, and as the answers become available, then we'll let the PPOA members know. But Nutcracker has the first opportunity. If they decide to buy it, then whoever buys it, if the members of Nutcracker buy it, they'll decide what they want to do with it.
Thank you.
Let me make a comment. I think one thing that we've kind of missed in this explanation was the Anthonys came to us about 3 weeks ago with this proposal. They are currently, as Jim Anthony said, doing estate planning. And they have no intention to be in the golf course business 2 years from now. So this proposal from them to us is that we're getting out of the business. You can either buy the golf course, Nutcracker can buy the golf course, or we're going to turn it into an orchard or a turf farm. That's the issue. They backed us up to the wall. That's the problem that we're dealing with. Whether that would be good for PPOA to lose Nutcracker completely, to have a turf farm in your backyard, or another pecan orchard, that's the issue that we're dealing with. This is not something that the board or even the golf committee has come out and said, we want to buy Nutcracker. And so that's what we're studying, that's what we're working with, and that's where we're trying to come up with a decision. And we actually have, for the Anthonys, a deadline of the middle of October. 1st of October. Okay, that is a commitment from us to go forward to the membership and get your approval to purchase Nutcracker. If we fail to get this passed, and they're pretty smart, they realize that it takes several votes before. How many votes did it take to get the new bridge? And so what they've done is they basically said that if we fail to get this approval on this ballot in March, they'll give us another year. We can vote again the following year and try it again. But at the end of 2 years, they're digging it up. It's going to be a turf farm. And that's the issue we're dealing with.
Well, but there's something else too. Don't forget. Let's suppose that the Nutcracker members cannot put a syndicate together or a buying plan together to purchase Nutcracker. Then it'll fall to us. It's not going to come free. We are going to have to vote to determine whether or not this community will pay the fair price for that property. That's what we're working on. And we'll come to you with a plan that hopefully we can justify and ask you to approve the increase in dues that it will cost us to operate to purchase and then operate that facility. A lot of details that have to be worked out, and perhaps, Bev, if you want to make some comments about that, I'd invite you to do that.
It's been said by several people around here that we really can't do anything until August 15th, because the deadline for Nutcracker is August the 14th. My guess is that if they do go forward with a proposal, then they will have an extension of that for a period of time until they can put their deal together, which at that point in time, then it may come to us again and push our deadlines out. The caveat that Doug was mentioning is that the only way we're going to get 2 times to do this is if we put it out to the members for a simple majority to pass the purchase of Nutcracker. Not only are we going to have to finance the purchase of it, but then we're going to have to finance the ongoing operations. If you lived here when the PAC Center was turned over to us, I'm not sure how many did, but we were given that PAC Center by the Anthonys, but we had no money to operate it, and we were spending an additional $200,000 a year of money that we did not budget to operate the PAC Center. We want to make sure that we understand what it's going to cost to operate Nutcracker, and are there other opportunities at Nutcracker that are for things that we need here in Pecan as well. So there's a lot of work that's going to be done by an acquisition team we're going to be working really hard to make sure that we have covered all the bases for members and that we can financially support what we're going to put out to you. We're not going to put something out to you that we don't feel is the right financial decision for members to have, to make. So.
The other part of the equation is that there have been opportunities in the past for the Anthonys to provide land to the PPOA to build an additional golf course, and those opportunities went by the wayside for one reason or another. Their current offer on the table is to sell the Nutcracker for $1,750,000. Even if we were able to work out some kind of deal in the future to acquire more land here to build an additional golf course, you're talking several $1 million to build an additional golf course from scratch. A lot more than $1,750,000. So,
Mr. President, I'd like to address the $4 million that we have in reserves.
Please do.
To kind of have people understand what that really means, all right? Yes, we do have $2 million, for instance, in the capital reserve fund, all right? That money comes from your assessment that the membership voted in many years ago to replace and repair current assets. So that $2 million, for instance, in capital reserves can't be used in operations. It has to be used only to repair and replace. And then we have another fund where we have another $1 million. That's the Roads and Drainage Fund. That also was passed by the members with a 2/3 majority to build that fund, and that fund can only be used for roads and drainage issues. So yes, we have $4 million, but we just can't use it in operations. You see, we can only use it for what the members voted that we could use it for.
Yeah, you've already explained that to me. I'm fine with that.
Okay, fine. No, I'm just, but I'm not sure that everybody understands that money is funded. You know, it's separate funds to be used only for certain expenditures.
I just got excited because you said we had $4 million.
I get excited.
I didn't understand it was already tied up. So.
Okay, I just wanted to make it clear.
Okay, I'd like to again thank everybody for coming tonight. This was a good meeting. It's very encouraging to us to see people show up, and I hope you'll continue to support these town hall meetings in the future. Thank you very much.